Hi, I'm Commander Girish Konkar. I'm an ex-Indian naval officer. I was in the Indian Navy for about 22 years, and in the Navy I was a submariner.
Hello, sir.
Hi.
So we are here with Girish Konkar, sir. You all already know him because you all follow this channel. So through this interview, kind of free-flowing conversation, what we are going to do is we are going to deep dive into topics that will help you improve your life. So, sir, today's topic that we've thought of is emotional intelligence.
Yes.
So, first of all, I want to start with the fundamentals. What is emotional intelligence?
Okay. Yeah. So emotional intelligence, as it says, the word itself says, is being aware about one's emotions, emotional state, because emotions is something that we display very beautifully. Human being is one animal which has a plethora of emotions which we can display. The unfortunate part is we really don't know what we're displaying many a times,
True.
and that goes by in default. We are not robots. Robots do not have any emotions. They are very highly efficient. They do the task given to them absolutely perfectly as per the plan. But human beings don't. And why they don't is because the emotions come in the way. So depending on your emotional state, our display of how we show our emotions to others varies, and that impacts our interaction with people, interaction with teams, interaction with the environments, and all that becomes. So one is being emotional means I have no control on my emotions.
Okay.
That's being emotional.
So my emotions are dictating my decisions or how I react.
Firstly, the situation determines my emotions,
Okay.
and those emotions now determine how I act. Whereas if I am able to control or manage my emotions irrespective of situation, I've got power. Then
Right.
I decide whether I should show happiness, whether I should show sadness, whether I should show anger. It is my choice.
Okay.
If I don't know to do it, then I'm at the mercy of circumstances. I have no control, and you will say, okay, if it is hot, then I have to feel this way. It's not necessary that you have to feel this way. You choose to feel that way. That is emotional intelligence.
Okay.
I have to feel this way is being emotional.
Right.
So there's a subtle difference between the two. And the more emotional awareness and intelligence that I possess, I can now respond the way I want to the situation.
So you are in control.
So I become in control of the responses. The situation is never under my control,
True.
but the responses come under my control, and based on those responses will determine the outcome.
Okay.
And therefore, the outcome now comes under my control.
Right.
If I don't have emotional intelligence, I will simply say, but I can't help anything. That's how it is. If such a situation is so, I have to respond. I will always respond and so and so. No, there's a big difference.
Okay.
You choose to respond such. If you can choose, then you are emotional intelligence. If you say I have no choice, then you are just being emotional.
Right.
So it's more important that you should have emotional intelligence and not just be an emotional
Emotional.
being.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that is a big
Crux
difference
of
between the
it.
two.
Yeah. So, based on what you just said, what I understand is emotional intelligence is a tool.
Yes.
And I think most of us are unaware that all of us possess this tool
Absolutely.
and we don't know how to use it also. So, what is the role that emotional intelligence or EI plays in both our personal as well as our professional lives?
See, as we grow older, it all starts off firstly since childhood. Uh, Unfortunately, our entire education system, since nobody is aware about it, really in depth, it's very heavily knowledge and skill oriented, very little emotion oriented.
Okay.
So nobody teaches the child how does one control emotions, what can be done to how do you control your emotional states. That is never taught in any school, and we learn by committing a lot of mistakes. As we grow older, we start getting into management or leadership roles at every stage. And that is where moment you come into contact with the team, because man is a social animal. So we don't have to just sit alone somewhere and do something. That is very rare.
Right.
And people don't enjoy that also. You're always connected socially.
Yes.
And moment you're connected socially, everyone's emotions start to come into play. Now, I had never been taught any, but nobody has taught us how to control my emotions, what emotion I should display. We learn by mistakes, and generally we do well also. Not that we don't learn it. But had that been taught in school, in college, it's far easier. Now, why is it that emotions are not under our control most of the times? We don't know it. That's because of the way the brain was designed maybe 1 lakh years ago. And it's designed as, it was originally designed as a pure reactive brain.
Yes.
So the brain is still now designed to react to circumstances. If something happens in my surrounding, the brain takes in all the information into it. Literally, millions of bits of information goes into the brain, and the brain has to quickly decide only two things that the entire human being does: is it good for me or bad for me? That means we love pleasure, we want pleasure, and we want to avoid pain. So there could be thousands of emotions. If you Google it, you'll find there are 1,000 emotions. Ultimately, they all boil down to two things: is it good for me or bad for me?
Right.
Right. If it is good for me, then the body behaves in a particular manner. I display that in a particular manner. If it is bad for me, again the body goes into various states and displays that in a particular manner. So from pleasure and pain, we come to positive emotions and negative emotions. So there's 1,000 emotions that are there. You start getting into buckets now. Positive emotions and negative emotions. Positive emotions have huge power. Negative emotions have limited power. In a sense, sometimes a negative emotion might give you massive action also. Anger. But if every day if you're angry, it's got severe physiological changes in the body which are not good for the body.
Right.
So if once in a while if I get angry, once in 6 months, once in a year, that's okay. But if every day I get angry, then something's seriously wrong.
Yes.
My entire physiological states of the body will go for a 6. It will go into a negative frame of mind and everything starts to collapse. Actually, it's very easy to control your emotions. But like I said, nobody taught us. Schools don't know. Teachers are not aware because our entire system is knowledge and skill based. It is not attitude based. Emotions form a part of attitude.
Okay.
So in short, how does one learn it? That becomes, I would say, the next question should come.
Yeah.
How does one learn emotions? I don't have a simple answer for it.
Correct.
Say in 5 minutes, how does one learn emotions?
But maybe like just a basic of what some kind of tips or tricks, something that people can just keep doing again and again to finally get their emotions in check or be the one in the driving seat.
So coming back to absolute basic about emotions, first let's understand that before we come to the answer.
Right.
So the brain was designed 1 lakh years ago to respond to a situation instantly, which means it takes what the brain does is, in those days 1 lakh years ago, if you saw a tiger or a dinosaur, it was bad for us.
Fight or flight
response, because you couldn't fight the tiger which was there with a gun or a bow and arrow, because that was not yet invented. This is 1 lakh years ago.
Right.
So you had to run from the tiger. You couldn't fight that tiger. So reaction had to be instant. You don't have the luxury of thinking, should I run, not run, etc., etc. You had to run. Or if you probably saw a deer or something similar, which was your food, you had to kill it instantly.
Right.
You don't have the luxury of time to plan out how to really do
There's no time to procrastinate.
And that time, in those days, man was not an agriculturist.
Yes.
So you're not growing your food. You're a hunter and gatherer. So you have to take instant action. That's how the brain was designed. And the design still continues.
Right.
Therefore, what the brain does is stores everything that it's guessed. And that becomes your bias for action completely.
Okay.
If I see this, take this action so that you're safe. Okay, so is it good for me, bad for me? Good for me, bad for me. The brain is constantly evaluating that. Good for me, bad for me. If it is good, relax. If it is bad for me, take instant action. The body has to undergo various physiological changes, and so either you fight it,
you tense up immediately.
So the muscles have to tense.
Yeah.
Maybe we can later on go into what all goes wrong with the body when you see some danger.
Right.
Because if you see danger every time, that's dangerous for the body.
Right.
So you get this inputs into the brain. The brain takes about 50 milliseconds to take an action.
Okay.
And it displays that, tells the body, take action. On the other hand, maybe about 25,000 years ago or so, the conscious brain started to develop.
Okay.
Which is a thinking brain, which is the awareness brain. So it can analyze, is this if, but, and what if, why not, what if,
You could
etc.
add a few steps
You can add a few steps
before
correct.
an action.
Before an action. Now, to get an answer to that, it takes about 250 milliseconds.
Okay.
So it is 5 times slower. And therefore, even before we've had time to analyze the situation as to what I should do in this situation, the subconscious mind has already taken the action and done with it. And what does the subconscious mind do? Actually, whenever you're getting information, all it does is, I'm simplifying everything,
Yes.
removing all the scientific jargon from it, so that it's absolute common sense. The scientists may have a field day saying, no, this is wrong, that is wrong, but I'm just speaking common sense, logical, practical.
Right.
Whenever I get the input, the brain divides whatever input I'm getting into two parts. One goes to the subconscious mind, which is the prehistoric brain, what is called as the amygdala, the hippocampus, and the reptilian brain, which is somewhere at the back, and says, what I am experiencing over here now, has this happened previously?
Okay.
And it gets a match. If it gets a match, it says, okay, do what you did at that time, so you're alive today. That's survival. So it is designed for survival, and you take action. So one of the commonest thing is people get angry.
Right.
And it's a temper tantrum. Now something happens outside. My reaction is I get angry and I shout and I throw things around. It just happens. Is it because I want to get angry? The answer is no. But it just happens. The conscious brain, on the other hand, this information has gone there.
Yeah.
50 milliseconds, got an answer, take action to the body. The conscious brain, on the other hand, thinks, do I need to get angry? Is there any other alternative? Can I think of this? Can I think of that? Is there an option for it? To get an answer, it takes about 250 milliseconds. So it is 5 times slower.
Yeah.
But it's too late. Actions taken. And all these are displayed in the form of multiple emotions.
Right.
So the subconscious mind takes the action, anger, happiness, sadness, fear, like I said, 1,000 emotions. If you Google it, like 1,000 emotions. You'll always say, I had no control now. Because the subconscious brain has no control.
Right.
The control is with the conscious brain, which can decide, okay, do I need to shout? Can I take it calmly? Do I need to run? Do I need to fight? Do I simply sit and relax? Do I smile? That's the conscious brain. But it has got no chance. Because subconscious brain has taken the action. Now, unless you train the conscious brain
to listen,
you train the conscious brain to override the subconscious brain, you have no control. And that is emotional intelligence. That means you're allowing the conscious brain to talk to the subconscious brain and say, okay, chill.
Communicate.
Don't take this type of emotional action. Take the other way, which is more logical, which is more considered, which is more likely of success. And once you do that, now you got emotions under your control.
Right.
Now up to you to decide how should I display that. But like I said, nobody taught us how to do that. They're very simple techniques, nothing complicated. Very simple. Say, oh, it is so easy to control your emotions. Answer is yes. It needs practice. That's all it requires.
Okay. Thank you. Sir, we spoke a lot about emotions and how our brains have still not probably developed to the point to handle them properly. But for our audience, if they could do 3 things to start building their emotional intelligence, what could those 3 things be that they can just incorporate in their daily lives?
Okay. So one is, of course, we should be aware of what all emotions are there. Multiple emotions that could be there.
So first is emotional awareness.
Okay. What are the various emotions? And I need to get control of them. That is number one. Once you are aware, now how do you get that particular? One thing is that there are many hormones in the body which also govern many things. So with your thoughts, you need to control your hormones as much as possible.
Okay.
How do you do that? Simplest method. And I'm sure many of us will relate to that. Let me ask you this question. When somebody is very angry, what do you tell that person? What is the basic thing?
Calm down. And they never
How do you tell that person to calm down?
I don't know, you could probably give them a glass of water.
Simple, common sense, right?
Yeah.
What are you actually doing when you're giving that person a glass of water? His mind now, remember the subconscious mind, is removing the filter, is filtering out the situation, and now focusing on the glass of water.
Right.
The mind is not on the situation but on the water. It has literally cut the previous emotion. Emotions last you for 6 seconds.
Okay.
Okay. Emotions, when it lasts for more than 6 seconds, become feelings.
Okay.
When a feeling continues for some more time, becomes a mood. So what is in your hand is to cut that emotion in 6 seconds. You give the person a glass of water, the mind focuses on the glass of water, you start drinking. The mind, the subconscious mind is no more on that situation which is causing all the trouble. The conscious mind on the other hand is working. It has got this situation is dangerous, I should do something. It's talking to the subconscious mind, and it's okay, don't shout, chill, relax, be cool. And when you finish that glass of water, you put it down, you would have calmed down a couple of notches.
Okay.
Such a simple trick.
So it's the 6-second rule.
Is a 6-second rule. Perfect. So just drink a glass or take a couple of sips of water. Another technique. Okay. Again, commonsensical. What do you think now that you know this glass of water technique? What is the other method you think that the conscious mind can talk to subconscious mind?
Breathing.
Perfect. Okay, take deep breaths. Now, when you take it, see, normally we are doing subconscious breathing.
Right.
We are not thinking and breathing. When you take a deep breath, your thinking and the breath has to now be controlled by you. Right now, no control.
Right.
It's just going on autonomously. It's going on. Now you say, what are you doing? You are giving control, a signal from the various cells to the body, saying, I want you to breathe in, deep breathe inside, and you're taking the oxygen inside, going to the mind shifts its focus from the dangerous thing happening around you and now goes over here. You've broken your state.
Okay.
Now the conscious brain is again talking to subconscious brain. You don't need to shout. You don't need to go ballistic. You don't need to have this. It takes again 6 seconds to cut that emotion.
Right.
And take a couple of deep breaths. You will find you have calmed down. Now you decide now which emotion should I display. The probability that the answer that the brain gives you is right. Probability.
Okay. Yes.
No guarantees. Okay, but that is right. That's the second technique. Deep breathing. Okay, you will find instantly the calm down. Okay. One more. So you got two. One is take a glass of water, sit down, drink glass of water. You're breaking the state.
Yes.
Brain goes into a calm mode. Second one was deep breathing.
Right.
What more do you think? Common sense. Let's see.
Third, I think something I was taught as a kid was if I ever got angry, I was told to count in reverse.
Perfect. Common sense.
Yeah.
Now you know what it do. Again, when you're counting, if you're counting either 1 to 10 or 10 to 1, what are you doing? The 6-second rule. What are you consciously doing? Counting.
Right.
You're saying, okay, 10. Bahar kuch gadar ho raha hai. Okay, there's some chaos happening here and there. And what are you doing? Counting, reverse counting. 10, 9, 8. You've broken the state, 6 seconds. The conscious brain is working still. And it's saying, okay, it knows what's happening around it. It's saying, what direction do I take? But that emotional initial outburst or initial, whatever, it could be fear, it could be anger, it could be temper, it could be chaos in the brain, whatever it is, it gets cut. And now the probability after 6 seconds for you to take, okay, this is what I need to do,
right,
is now far higher. So 3 simple techniques.
Yes.
Right. First is relax, take a sip of water, 6-second rule. Second one is
deep
breathing. Third one is reverse count to 10 or even count 1 to 10, no problem.
Right.
That I call it as pressing the pause button.
Okay, right.
So like in the olden days, you have the tape recorder and you press pause, or in a recording you press the pause. So you're pressing the pause button, telling your subconscious mind, chill, let me think. The conscious brain thinks and gives an answer. This is what you should do. Probability that that's the right answer is very high, rather than going subconsciously.
Fantastic.
So I would request to all the youngsters, if whenever there's chaos happening around you, just 3 things. Step 1, take a deep breath. Consciously drink water. So all this is doing consciously. That's the difference. One is to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, no. 1, 2, 3, 4. By the time you reach 10, you would have calmed down. Not youngsters, anybody. Okay, especially the elderly people. Those of people like me, who have no control. We think we are the tigers. So just take 10 seconds to calm down. You will calm down.
Please let us know in the comments if you tried this and how it helped you.
Absolutely.
Sir, the point I want to touch upon here is emotional intelligence and the youth, right? We are a generation that is overloaded with information at all times. And especially with social media. I mean, social media has done a bunch of wonderful things for us.
Yeah.
But how do you think it affects our emotions?
So we said their emotions, and emotions are basically linked to hormones. Okay. Hormones are, lots of hormones are there, and one of the biggest hormone that we are used to is a hormone called dopamine.
Okay.
Dopamine is something called as a reward chemical, or which gives us pleasure. So there's a difference between pleasure and happiness.
Okay.
Pleasure is short term, happiness is long term. On both of these are controlled by some hormones in the body. Now, especially social media, if you notice reels, if you notice all these shorts, they're all of a short duration designed to give you some high. When you see these soap operas,
Right.
they end on a high with creating an expectation of what next.
Cliffhangers.
Cliffhangers. And what does that do? It gives you a drip of dopamine, saying what next. And that creates that anticipation. You want something to happen, and that now the thing, the brain is very, what do you say? The brain is fantastically tuned to say, I want that.
Right.
I want dopamine. Where will I get dopamine from? The reel, from the soap opera.
Right.
And that's how next time again, so that is okay, when is this next dopamine high going to come? Either you swipe for the next reel or you wait for the next episode of that particular daily soap.
Right.
And that's how all these become addictive. The same thing applies for cigarettes. The same thing, what does cigarettes give you? They give you a high.
True.
A temporary high, but the brain records that, saying, okay, I get a high with this cigarette.
This activity.
With this activity gives me a high. And it's a very easy activity. I don't have to really do too much of hard work to get that high. And the brain, next time the brain wants an high, the brain says, okay, how do you get it? Take one more cigarette.
Right.
Or go to your phone, start seeing. And you start seeing one, saying, okay, I only watch for 2 minutes only.
Yeah.
And you, within no time, you realize your 20 minutes spent on that phone, you wasted half your time.
Right.
And you won't even remember which was the reel 10 minutes back or 10 reel back, but you got a high.
Right.
And you can become addicted to it.
Also, at the end of that scrolling session, you feel like you feel that, oh, I wasted so much time, but you also feel that withdrawal.
Yes, because the moment dopamine stops, the brain just starts to wonder, what do I do now? And the brain literally says to that phone, come to me, come to me, come to me. You know, if you've seen those cartoons,
Right.
Tom and Jerry cartoons, and you start floating towards you start
Object,
floating,
yeah.
and that phone will come floating towards you, and you say, okay, let me see the next scroll. And you just can't stop yourself. Whether it's drugs, that's how drugs become addictive.
Okay.
Drugs give you a high of dopamine or many other chemicals also involved in that. They give you a high, and the brain says, this is good. I want it. Where do you get it from? Your next drug.
Right.
And social media is gives you huge highs. And therefore you become an addict to social media.
Right.
And they can literally hijack your brain. Especially children.
Okay.
Because children cannot differentiate. Children don't have a conscious brain. They only have subconscious brain. And therefore they cannot get out. You and me have a conscious brain which we can control, say, okay, I will not see my phone for the next 1 hour.
Right.
We can do that. Children do not have that power.
Okay.
They don't have a conscious brain which tells them what to do and what to do. He gets hooked onto that phone. And I think, unfortunately, today we see many instances where children
don't eat,
have committed suicide, have committed murders, they throw their phones, they break their phones, and I mean, they go into violence. Why? Because the parent has taken away their phone.
Right.
So they don't have that logical reasoning and thinking brain, which is the conscious brain, which says, okay, don't do it too often. Enough. 5 minutes is good enough. 10 minutes is good enough.
Right.
He gets hooked onto that, he or she. That's why it's so addictive, social media. Therefore, even though there are many good things on social media, if you don't know how to control it, it's a dangerous game that you're playing.
Right.
That's the bad part.
Sir, for anybody watching today's video, what could be their biggest takeaways?
As a takeaway, I would say become emotionally aware. understand what emotional state you are in various circumstances, to get control on your emotions. That is emotional intelligence. Simplest technique is press the pause button. For pressing the pause button, we talked about the three things. Do that. That is the easiest method, simplest method, so that you can start getting your emotions under control. Maybe the next time we can go into deeper into it. We mentioned a little bit about dopamine and what is pleasure and happiness.
Pain, yeah.
There are multiple emotions. Literally, when you Google, you get 1,000 emotions. How can you control 1,000 emotions? Yeah, it's simple actually. Next time we'll talk about it definitely if we get a chance, and we'll love to do that.
Definitely. I think this is a very vast topic and we've just scratched the surface of it. So, we'll continue to make this series even more informative and we'll allow Sir to, give us more of his knowledge so that it can help all of us in our daily lives. If you like this video, please give us a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel and share it with all your friends. Plus, whatever your thoughts are, you have any questions for Sir, please put them in the comments below. We'll be very happy to address them and they could be our next topic too.
Thank you.